Hello, everybody, my Beyond the Bible viewership base. This is Tracy L. White, and we are here with another episode of a series that we started called God Over Government. And I do have a couple of special guests on with me. You guys remember Lady B from last time, and we have Dave McDowell on. So I am just going to go to my share screen, and we are going to introduce the show. Okay. So this is God Over Government. Our government is corrupt right down to its foundation. We traded our God-given freedoms for government enslavements disguised as securities and benefits. Episode 39, God Over Government, Part 2. We are going to be discussing secured party creditor today. Okay, this is my book, The Foundation Scripture Studies. You guys know about this. I talk about this almost every episode. It's already out on Amazon. If you do not know how to study, read this book. It's not a read through. You will literally learn how to study the Bible in its context by reading this book with its foundational revelations and truths. The False Prophet Among Us, that is done. I'm completely done with it. It's in publishing right now. It will be out soon, and the ebook as well for you guys who don't want the actual thing in your hand. I love having a book in my hand because I like to highlight. So when people let me borrow their books, I got to restrain myself from highlighting in their books. But I am Oh, by the way, false prophet among us, we got to understand who is speaking to us. We got to understand the source. We got to discern those who are laboring amongst us in these days and time. God already said in his word that there will be false prophets and teachers among you then and already are now. We are in that time. So that's why that book is extremely crucial to have in these last days, in these end times right now. I am minister and author Tracy L. White. If anybody wants to reach out to me, it is godnation.me@gmail.com. Okay, Dave McDowell. Dave is 81 years old. He is a U.S. Marine Corps vet. He lives in Texas. He rides his motorcycle and teaches UCC Secure Party Creditor. That is who I'm bringing before you today, okay? By his bio, you can see he's very direct, okay? He doesn't mince words or anything like that. So I'm going to stop my share screen and I'm going to bring on my guest, okay? So, hello, Dave. Thank you for carving time out to be with us on Beyond the Bible today. And we do have Lady B with us as well. So we're going to be talking about secured party creditor. I don't know a lot about it, but that's your world. So you have the floor. Go ahead and tell us what it is and why it is so important.
All right. First and foremost, my name is David McDowell, and I am a Marine, not an ex-Marine, but a Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine.
That is what they say.
Next, I am a teacher in the City on the Hill institution out of Phoenix, Arizona. I teach a course called Secured Party Creditors, and everybody needs to be a secured party creditor. You say, why so? Because the Uniform Commerce Code is the law of commerce. Not the law of the land, but the law of commerce. Every time you step out of your house and get in your car, you're in commerce. If you don't understand the law of commerce, how are you going to protect yourself in your daily routines? Because everything we do out there is controlled through statutes, rules, and regulations. Nothing about the law. Statutes, rules, and regulations, which is the Uniform Commercial Code, is worldwide. All the courts use it, all the banks use it, all the lawyers use it. So if we don't understand it, how in the world are we going to protect ourselves?
Right.
So that is the main thing that I teach in school, how to become a secured party creditor. Once you file a UCC-1, learn how to do it correctly, there are 11 or 13 different documents that go on a UCC-3, which attaches to your 1, which is a legal binding contract stand up in any court in the country, and you declare to the world that you're a secured party creditor. And if you go through all these contracts and you read them and you understand them, your life is going to change for the better. Trust me. He's saying God over government. And that is actual truth, because we as individuals give up all our God-given rights to become a citizen of the government and do what they say. Oh, you got to have a driver's license. No, you don't. You got to have a driver's license if you're dumb enough to go down there and fill out the application and pay for it. Because a driver's license is a privilege granted by the state and charge you for the privilege. And once you get that driver's license, you have signed a contract with the state that you will abide by all their rules and regulations and their statutes. You didn't say anything about the law. Said statutes, rules, and regulations. That's what the Uniform Commerce Code is. It's statutes, rules, and regulations. It's not the law. The law says, I got a God-given right to travel anywhere I want to travel.
Yes.
I don't need their permission. But everybody thinks you got to have their permission. You got to have a driver's license. You got to have this. You got to have that. No, you don't. If you got a driver's license, then you're subject to all their rules, their statutes, and regulations. What's their first rule? You must have insurance. You must have a driver's license. You must have proof of this and proof of that. If you don't got a driver's license, you ain't got to prove none of that stuff, because you're a secured party creditor if you file a UCC-1. So I don't have a driver's license. I don't want one of their IDs. I made up my own ID. I went down and filed it in the county, got it notarized, got a barcode on it, and I keep that in my vehicle. And they asked me for a driver. I said, I'm sorry, I ain't got one, but here's my ID. They can't do nothing about it because it's registered with the Secretary of State. So
And you can
once
only
you
do
become
something like that when you're a secured party creditor, right?
exactly. So once you become a secured party creditor, you can do a whole lot of things that the average person can't do because they don't know how to do it, first of all. Second of all, they get on YouTube and they see all these different people out here putting down all this information, and most of them people ain't got a clue what they talk about. They just out to hoodwink you, get your money, and get you to pay them to do something that is totally false. Let's just put it that way, totally false.
Yeah.
Because
now, Dave, you look like you about to. Your face is like only half on the camera, and you like, yeah, the curtain over your hat and everything, and yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. Yeah, the
I'm
camera's
not.
fine. It was just that you was
I'm not in the movies, so I don't know.
and the curtain is on your hat over you like this. So you got to bring
Yeah,
yourself out of the curtain. There you go. That way, yeah. Okay, so is when you become a secured party creditor, is that the same equivalent as owning your straw man? You are in control of your straw man. So how does that
yeah,
work?
yes, it is. You control your so-called straw man. Let's see, everybody has got a shadow. And if you go outside in the sun, you look down the ground, there's your shadow. Even if you're in the house and the light's on, you look down the floor, there's a shadow. You
Yeah.
cannot take a knife or a sword and cut that shadow and get rid of it. It's
Nope.
there for life. It follows you everywhere you go. So when you were born, the government created a dead corporation called the what do you call it? It's a debtor, and
Okay.
it is a dead entity, a corporation. They used your all cap letter name, created a birth certificate and a social security, and it follows you through your entire life.
Yeah.
And that's just like the shadow. You can't get rid of it. You cannot get rid of what the government created when you were born. However, you can control it,
Mm-hmm.
but you can only control it if you're a secured party creditor. Because my birth certificate and my social are both dead entities. They are a dead corporation. They can't speak for themselves. So both of those entities say that uh, I can't do anything on my own, so I'm going to be a transmitting utility. I'm going to transmit all of my rights and whatever over to the secured party creditor, and they're the human flesh and blood person that God created. Now, that human flesh and blood person can take care of all of the problems or whatever caused by the government and their dead corporation,
Mm-hmm.
because it is a dead corporation. Can't speak for itself. You can only speak for it because the dead entity allows you to do it, but you can't do it if you're not a secured party creditor.
Well, what are some of the things that we can do once we become secured party creditor? Like within your lifespan, give us examples of things that you can do that a regular citizen cannot do?
Okay, I drove truck for years,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're a truck driver, you have to pay what's called road use tax.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so when I quit driving truck, I got a bill from the state of Texas saying I owed them $8,752 road use tax.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I ain't had that kind of money, but I'm a secured party creditor, so I wrote them a promissory note and sent it to them and told them, here, take this out of my account and settle the debt. Well, they didn't do it because they don't understand what's going on. You got to educate them people.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to do, but it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, long story short, I settled my road use tax with being a secured party creditor. Not only did I settle that, but they were taking almost $200 a month out of my Social Security check for a student loan. I got that stopped, took care of the student loan, all because I understood how the system works and because I was a secured party creditor.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I do, everything I get in the mail, I file it on my UCC3 is uh, a good public record because it
Mm-hmm.
stays there forever. And if anybody wants to know anything about my UCC filing, you can ask Lady Boudet. She'll tell you I got pages and pages and pages of filing. And
Mm-hmm.
anybody can go there and pull it up if you know what you're doing and
Mm-hmm.
find out just how I'm filing stuff. If I get something in the mail, I don't care what it is,
Mm-hmm.
I immediately file that document on my UCC3. And I say, the debtor, who is the all cap letter name,
Mm-hmm.
is now indebted to who? The secured party creditor for the sum amount of so and so according to this account number.
Mm-hmm.
And when the creditor sends the original wet ink signature that I signed and they return it to the debtor will give it to the secured party, and the secured party will take care of the debt. They can't do it because they ain't got no wet ink signature.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how you take care of stuff. It's very simple, but it's
Simple once you have the knowledge.
very, it's very confusing.
Mm-hmm.
It's very I don't know. They say, "Oh man, I don't want to go through all that. I'm too old for that." They're not too old. You just got to understand because when we were growing up in school, they didn't teach us this stuff.
Right.
That should be one of the very main things they teach in public school, but they're never going to do it because they don't want you to know nothing about it.
And it'll undermine them. It'll undermine the government that they're part of. Now, I hear about secured
Exactly.
party 1 and I hear about 3. What is 2? Because I know there got to be a 2 since there's a 1 and 3. What's the difference between 1, 2, and 3?
Okay, the UCC1 is a financing statement about your debtor and yourself.
Okay.
The UCC3 is uh, a form that you fill out and put anything you want in the collateral box, and it attaches to the UCC1 and becomes a part of the UCC1. It's like having a bank account and you go down to the bank and you open up an account with $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 days later, you got a house note due for $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
So are you going to go down to the bank and open up another account to pay that house note, or are you going to pay it with the account you already have? You're
Mm-hmm.
going to make a deposit into your account and you're going to write a check off of that account.
Mm-hmm.
A UCC-free is the same thing as putting a deposit in your bank account, because Secretary of State is the bank and you're doing business with the bank.
Mm-hmm.
So when you file your paperwork on 3, that is your deposit.
Yeah.
When you get a printout of what you filed and
Mm-hmm.
you get an acknowledgement from the Secretary of State that it has been filed, that's what I call a withdrawal. Now
Okay.
you take that paperwork and you attach it to the bill you got in the mail
Mm-hmm.
and you assign it. You assign it back to whoever sent it. They got to have somebody's name in there. You assign it, you put a signature on it, and you return it. Now you've done everything that the Uniform Commerce Code has asked you to do as a secured party creditor.
Mm-hmm.
You've accepted, you've acknowledged, you've assigned, you signed it, and you returned it. You don't care what they do with it. They can throw it in the trash, they can burn it, they can eat it, who cares? But you made them holder in due course
Mm-hmm.
of the so-called debt that they say you owe.
Okay. So there is
There is
no 2 in between. It's just secure party 1 and
no
3. Okay.
right. There's 1, 3, and 5.
Oh.
And the 5 is a request form. Like I can fill it out and I can say, has anybody got a claim against me anywhere in the state of Texas? If they do, please come forward under penalty and perjury of law and state your claim. So
Mm-hmm.
they'll run this through every corporation in the state of Texas. Nobody got a claim, gonna come back say, we can't find no claim. So if they can't find no claim, why are you gonna pay something like a traffic ticket to the city of Livingston, Texas? And they haven't filed no paperwork with the Secretary of State saying they got a claim, so why should I pay the ticket?
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple when you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you don't know what you're doing, it's kind of frustrating. You say, "Oh, I got to pay this ticket." No, you don't. And if you get a summons to court, but says, "I got to go to court." No, you don't. It's a summons. You know what a summons is? A summons is an invitation to a party. Doesn't mean you have to attend the party. It's just
Mm-hmm.
a summons. It's a piece of paper requesting your presence, but you don't have to show up. They can't do nothing about it.
Well, what are some of the misconceptions that you hear a lot about secure party?
I hear a lot of stuff out there about, I wouldn't be a secured party because the law says this and the law says this. The law didn't say nothing. It was rules and statutes and regulations. They said, oh, you're one of them sovereign citizens. Prove it. Do you even know what a sovereign citizen is? They use that term loosely for everything. Oh, you're one of them people that just want to be down on the government about everything. I ain't down on the government. The government's down on me. I'm just trying to survive in this stupid game they got going, trying to make everybody think they owe everything to the government. You don't owe nothing to the government. Government owes you, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of misconceptions out there about being a secured party creditor. Oh, you don't want to do that because the law will come after you and they'll do this and do that and blah, blah, blah. When I first filed mine with the Secretary of State and the United States Treasury, I got this letter from a lawyer telling me, oh, FBI is going to blah, 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 and they're going to blah, blah, blah. It's all scare tactics. It's just a letter to scare you. That's all it is. They're not going to do nothing. They're not going to do anything. It's just a scare tactic to keep you. When I did international bill of exchange for my student loan,
Mm-hmm.
I assigned it to the head honcho, not of the school, not of the Department of Education, but of the head honcho of the Department of Education in Washington, D.C. And I sent it to her personally.
Mm-hmm.
About a month later, I get a letter back from her attorney telling me, "Oh, we don't adhere to the UCC. It don't mean it's all gibberish and blah 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 blah, and you're doing illegal and blah blah." I just throw it in the trash because it's scare tactics. Guess what? They kept my international bill of exchange. If I send you a check in the mail
Mm-hmm.
and you don't return it to me,
Mm-hmm.
you got two things that happen under the UCC. You got
Okay.
you got value and you got consideration. That's right out of their code. I give them value with my document. They're supposed to give me consideration. If they don't give me consideration, they have to return the promissory note or the IOB or whatever you sent within 72 hours, 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't return it. They kept it. So that means if they kept it, it must be true. It must work. So I just go on. I don't worry about it because it says right on the International Bill of Exchange that they have 180 days to respond to you.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 weeks ago, I get a letter in the mail telling me that my student loan is discharged and
Mm.
that they will be filing documents with the credit bureau to take it off my credit report. And that's
Okay.
been 6 months since I actually sent the thing to DC to be taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it works. It works. You just got to stick with it and
Yeah.
keep after it because if you don't, whoever leaves the battlefield first loses. That's all there is to it.
Mm-hmm.
If you start something and you get discouraged and you quit, you just lost. That's all there
Yeah.
is to it.
Yeah. So what other,
So
have you had any other feats with being secured party that you can tell us about? Like something that most people would be like, dang, I didn't know you could do that. Is there any other stuff like that?
if you got a garnishment against you for going against your social security check or your whatever check you got, if they're taking money out of you for some kind of garnishment, you can get that stopped. If
Mm-hmm.
you are on probation, you can get your probation taken care of.
Hmm.
You can get
Wait, 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 wait,
child
wait, wait,
support.
wait, 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 wait. Don't skate past that one. What do you mean you can get your probation taken care of if you're on probation now? How does that
All
work?
right. Say my grandson got charged with a dope possession and he
Mm-hmm.
did a year in the county jail.
Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna kick him out of the county jail and they're gonna give him 2 years probation at like $50 a month. He has to go every single month and pay the $50 and go to this crappy probation thing, right?
Yes.
So if he has to go for 2 years
Mm-hmm.
at $50 a month, you take 50 times 12 and add another year to it, you come up with a total figure, right?
Yep.
Then you write an international bill of exchange to the probation department. Now the probation fee is taken care of. That's all they're interested in. They ain't interested in you. They want your money. So
Yes.
now you paid the money, so they cut you off probation. You ain't got to go no more.
Wow. And so you did that for your grandson.
Yes, I did.
Wow. Well, audience, y'all heard that. It's real. It's true. Secured party creditor does actually work. I have somebody here right in front of you that is living this thing out and executing this thing. And so what else can you tell us? And Lady B, if you have any interesting, like factual secured party things that you've done, just jump right in. We want to hear from you as well, especially with you being the dean of the school of a city on the hill institution. We definitely want to hear from you. So jump in, please.
One
You
more
know what?
thing.
Okay.
If you got child support, say you got 3 children and they're all very small, and you have to pay child support till they turn 18.
Mm-hmm.
You figure out the child support for 3 children times 12, which is 1 year, times ever how many years it's going to be till they turn 18. You get a
Mm-hmm.
total figure. You get an international bill of exchange. You send it to the department of wherever that's collecting the money. Bam, no more child support. You're off of it, free and clear.
What about if that time is gone, the kids are grown, it's arrearage? What about when it's like that?
I'm not sure about that, but I would assume that if it's in the rear and they're still trying to collect, I'm quite
Mm-hmm.
sure you can take care of the same situation.
What about people who are secured party now? They paid the child support for 18 years. Is there a way to go back and recoup?
You can file for it. I'm not sure that they will return it, but yeah, you can file for it because it's all about the money, and
Yeah.
there is no money. So it's all about digits and numbers. That's all it is, digits and
Okay.
numbers. But they
Okay.
want to ruin your life.
Yeah.
I had 2 days ago, I had a young lady call me. Is this Mr. McDowell? Yes, it is. Was your birthday? So I said, yes, it is. Well, you got two outstanding warrants and we need to collect the money. I said, ma'am, I said, how old are those tickets? She said 2001 or 2000, year 2000. I said,
Mm-hmm.
well, I tell you what, why don't you just go on and pay them and leave me alone? Because you're never going to get no money out of me, period.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if that's the way you want, I said, well, that's the way I want it. I said, because first of all, I didn't give you permission to get into my commercial affairs.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, I'm not going to pay you, not for a bogus ticket. It's just all tickets. I don't care what they traffic tickets, speeding tickets, warrants, they're all bogus. And
Yeah.
if you pay them, you just giving away your money.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a
Wow. Wow.
that's a proven fact under Title 16 the Code of Federal Regulations. It says that all corporations, all cities, and all townships and all that are writing bogus tickets. And if they're
Wow.
bogus, why do you have to pay it?
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
But
Wow.
Dave, can you?
go, people never go in there and read the law, so they don't know what it says.
Okay.
Hey, Dave,
Lady B, what was you saying?
yeah, I want Dave to tell you guys a story that
Okay.
I was actually involved in.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, tell me about your granddaughter's car getting towed.
My what?
Your granddaughter's car being towed.
Oh, I got a call one day and they say, man, they come got the car. They took it. And I was going to take the baby to the hospital. Now we ain't got no ride. I
Wow.
said, well, tell me. I said, send me the information on the internet or telephone, whatever. I want the exact color, make, model, and VIN number of the car.
Mm.
So she sent it to me. I filed it on my UCC as my private property. And then I called up the apartment complex that had the car towed, and I told them, you need to put this car back in the driveway because my granddaughter had a baby and she was taking the baby to the hospital and y'all took her car. Well, sir, we can't do that, blah, 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 blah. And they blamed it on the tow company.
Mm-hmm.
So I called the tow company, and the tow company blamed it on the apartment complex.
Mm-hmm.
So I got them both on the telephone. I told them, if y'all don't put that car back in the parking lot exactly where you took it by 4:30 this afternoon, I'm going to own this complex and I'm going to own your towing company.
Mm.
Oh, so you can't do that. I said, well, you got a fax machine? They said, yeah. I said, okay, give me your fax number. I'm going to fax you the paper from the Secretary of State. And it wasn't about 30, 40 minutes later, phone rang. And the guy says from the towing company, you can come get your car. I said, bull cocky, you took it, you bring it back. I ain't coming to get nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You bring it right back where you got it. And guess what? They brought it back and put it down right where they took it from.
Wow.
That's
Now,
how much power the UCC has.
but what did you send them in that fax? What exactly was it that they saw that made them put that car back right where it was?
Because it is, I listed it as my private property. And under private property, I have a $2 million fee for anything relating to my private property. So they snatched my private property without any written so-called notice to me at all. That's a $2 million fine
Okay.
for passing on my private property.
Well, let me ask you this right quick. You got the call and then you listed it on your private property and then you called them back. So for you to do that must have been very quick to be able just to take something. I mean, that process to list something as your private property on your UCC must be very simple if you was able to do it that quick.
Oh yeah, all I have to do is have the information and I get on my computer, it's all done electronically, and I file it into my property list as my private property.
Boom. So
And then
somebody could just do it as quick as that. Okay.
within 2 hours, you get a response back from the Secretary of State saying they acknowledge your filing.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
Because everything's done electronically nowadays.
Yeah. There is the convenience of that. So Lady B, what can you add for our viewership about secured party creditor that you've had experience with?
You know, I was one of those people that had the paperwork, and they still just treated me like a citizen.
Mm,
And it took for me to go through a battle with my house and my kids. And when I got in touch with Dave, he got me on the phone and he said, "Are you a secure party?" I said, "Yeah," because I had the paperwork.
mm-hmm.
He said, "You're not a secure party." And I said, "I am. I have the paperwork." He said, "Did you read it?" And he heard crickets.
Mm-hmm.
Because no, I did like most people do. I was on the templates and shot myself in the foot.
Yeah.
Because had I understood my status, none of the things that I went through would have even happened.
So you had the paperwork and you hadn't read it, so you didn't understand how to actualize it and stand on the documents that you had, correct?
That's what Dave taught me.
Okay.
And so our battle took 8 months
Mm,
because they stole my house. I mean, they just flat out stole my house. I didn't have time to worry about that because they stole my kids,
mhm,
right? And Dave was like, "Okay, look." He taught me the techniques that I needed to understand. He made me focus on the contracts and the understanding of the contracts and how to look in the law, find the law, look in the UCC, read the definitions, read the different sections, and like
mhm.
really.
You're
And
breaking up, you're breaking up a little bit in between words.
is this better?
Yeah, go ahead.
And in the end, basically, he made me the most powerful weapon in there. I mean, to be able to have a mentor that helped me shut down CPS in a state, I mean, like shut down and reorganize. They knew I was coming from money. I'm pretty sure the judge told him, "I'm not paying your bill. I'm gonna send her your way." But the feeling that I had when the governor had a press conference about how she was shutting CPS down and her reasonings for doing so, that's when I understood the power that I really had. So it's like having Excalibur. You can pull it out of the phone anytime that you want to. All you have to do is point it at them and they're going to run away. And that's the epitome of being a secured party. You have to know.
The thing about the UCC is when you file the documents on a 3, the very first document you file is a property list. It lists everything you own, past, present, and the future. And everything on there is private property. So when you list your children on there, you don't call them children, you don't call them kids, you call them private property. You go to the DPS and you say, "Look, you're holding my private property." For each individual that's involved is a $2 million fine per occurrence per day until I get my private property back. It
Wow.
don't take them long to release them because they ain't got that kind of money.
Lady B, tell us about that incident. how they took them and how you got them back. Just enlighten the audience on that.
Well, I was doing a, excuse me, I was doing an adverse possession at the time.
Okay.
And I'm about 6 months away from having the house deeded to my name.
Okay.
I did understand at that time that I should have had everything on a UCC3 because this is before I knew Dave.
Okay.
And so that was my mistake why I ended up losing that house the way that I did. But basically, I was swatted. They came, they beat me up, they took me to jail, tried to get my kids. This is the first time. And they took me to jail. Then the county, the DA called me when I got out, and she asked me to look at this picture and tell me where it was taken. And I'm like, what? And she was like, yeah. And so she shows me a picture, like a stop motion of video, surveillance video of the booking area. So when I told her that's me sitting in the booking area, like they cropped me out of the booking area. She said, that's what you didn't process. I said, no, I don't process. And so she threw the charges out. But they turned around and came back and did the same thing a week later. And that time they kidnapped my kids. And so that started the snowball. And then by time I met Dave, I mean, it was just, he had to like shake me up. I was a hot mess.
I bet, because they took your sons. And how long was it from the time they took them that you met Dave?
Maybe a month and a half or two.
Okay.
And it remainder to get them back. But
how long did it take to get them? How long was it before you got them back?
It took me 8 months to get them back.
Wow. Okay, go ahead.
And that was an amazing situation because I understood all the concepts of sovereignty. I was already doing right to travel. I was already partially reflecting, what I would call my first stage of status, right?
Okay.
And doing it, but it was little mistakes that I was making along the way before I met Dave that I was hitting potholes and I was getting myself hurt, like physically, right? But when I met Dave and he started explaining this to me and he showed me the notice and demand, and he showed me these other contracts, I understood the power of them. So I didn't sleep for 8 months. I didn't eat. I drank water and studied the law. Because I couldn't function without them. I couldn't. It was shutting me down.
Yeah.
So I drew my heart into everything I was doing. And then when my documents were complete and I knew that it's time for trial, I've got to answer all the questions perfectly to show them that I'm not in their jurisdiction. Paperwork backed it up to the fullest. And then the cherry on top was Dave gave me what's called a private probate bond. And that bond put the judge in my pocket. So the judge knew he was giving those kids back, didn't he, Dave? He knew because he tried to send it back to me, but he sent
what
it.
happened? How did that process go? So did you went to court that day, or what happened when that time came? Walk us through that.
I went to court that day. It was me and my mother had custody of them, and they were paying her, so she was treating me like a stepchild because they were giving her benefits, paying off my family to keep my family from me.
Whoa.
And so I did court, and I testified. I knew that dealing with the case with the house, that when I finally realized that they had cases started with that, I went to court for that because CPS judge said, well, if you get rid of the case with your house, then I'll give you your kids back. And I was like, bet, watch this. And that's when I went to court. I did a quo warranto on the judge. She defaulted. She never answered it back. The police to court with me, and I settled that case myself and walked out the building with the police on my side. So Fast forward to the day of trial, when we took a break before my testimony, the DA understood that I had a warrant from
Mhm.
that court, the one I settled.
Mhm.
So she came in and they laughed at her and they hung up on her. They said, we're not coming to get her. And they hung up because they were at court with me when I dismissed that case.
Mhm.
That warrant was fraudulent and they were not going to serve me with it.
Wow.
So that didn't work for her. So she went downstairs and she called the marshals. She called the marshals on the warrant. The marshals looked my name up in the system.
Mhm.
They told her, you're on your own with that one. Put her out of their little office. And then the marshals, because I'm outside cigarette with my mom, and my mom had just said to me, what do you expect them to do with you today? I said, I expect them to give me my kids back.
Mhm.
She said, you did not do anything that they asked you to do. And I said, in the moment I would have signed any one of their contracts, they would have taken my kids permanently.
Yes.
I said, I am not in their jurisdiction. And so she's frustrated at me because I'm going against the grain.
Yeah, and she doesn't understand it at that time. Yeah.
Solid that they gonna give me my kids back. That's what they're gonna do. They don't
Mhm.
have a choice. So then I saw a marshal come outside, and I was like, "Oh, okay." Marshal stretching his legs,
Mhm.
and I saw 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and 6 come out the building.
Mhm.
I'm getting a little sweaty now. Wait, why are all these marshals like out here? And I'm still talking to my mom, but they're
Mhm.
coming out and they're kind of like making a perimeter around me.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so I'm looking at the one that's at the door because he's the guy that has the most suit on. And I look at him, and when I make eye contact, he gives me a head nod and he walks
Mhm.
back in the. I'm like, okay. So I'm still talking to my mom. We're still having this almost argument. The next marshal goes to the door and stands there until I give him eye contact, and he nods his head and he goes in the building. I kid you not. I was like, wait a minute, something is going on right now.
Mhm.
Because one of those marshals did the same thing. They waited for me to give them eye contact. They gave me a respectful nod and they went back in the building one by one.
Whoa.
So we go in, they get to my testimony, and I hit every question. So they're like, are you U.S. citizen? But I have one.
You said no, but I have one.
No, but I have one.
Okay.
Well, judge smacks his forehead. Oh my gosh, this
Mm.
is going to be right. Oh, what's your address? Oh, you know what I mean? I'm domiciled. You know what I mean? I'm in the Republic. Everything. I hit every single one of their questions
Mhm.
with the answer from my jurisdiction.
Okay.
The judge was already going to give me my kids back, but this is what he said to me. He said, there's no need for me to deliberate. And when he said that, the attorney jumps up and says, Your Honor, and he throws his hand up at her as to tell her, shut up and sit down. And he looks at me and he said, you seem to be one of those people that like to mess with the government.
Mm.
And he said, government does not like to be messed with. He said, so you should consider having a plan B. Now I'm sitting there saying, well, what does he mean by saying that?
Mm.
Then he said, but your paperwork is very intelligible and you know exactly what you're talking about.
Mhm.
He said, ma'am, you can go get your kids right now. He said, take my dismissal and sue CPS for your money. Now, we never talked about any money in the court case in
Mhm.
public. It was only in that probate bond, the one in the private, that we were discussing money. And I told him in that bond, I want $1,460 per day per offspring for the length of time that they were not in my care and control, which was 8 months. It was about $250,000.
At what point had you hit him with that bond? Because so that was before the court date had happened?
That's the reason that I had to go to court is because when he there's a stipulation in the bond that if he sends it back to me, that means that nobody has a valid claim and he's going to get rid of the case.
Mm-hmm.
But when he sent it back, he had 3 days to send it back. He sent it back within the 3 days, but he addressed it to my straw man.
Mm.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm not going to fail this test on any level right
Mm-hmm.
now.
Mm-hmm.
So I sent it back, mail fraud.
Mm.
That's why he had to bring me into trial to dismiss it from there, because I didn't want him to have a way to catch me up.
Mm.
I
Okay.
had to have all my bases covered that day.
Wow.
But I did. And so after the dismissal, I fired like 4 attorneys. I kept on the 5th one as advisory counsel because the judge was like, I was like, Your Honor, he needs to be fired. They wouldn't put my documents on the record. And I was like, Your Honor, he's fired. And he's like, wait, this is your 5th attorney. Like, you've got to keep an attorney. I said, I don't want one. I don't want anything representing me.
Okay.
And so he said, okay. He said, will you consider leaving him on as advisory counsel? And I knew what that meant. That meant that they can't speak for my straw. They can only help me through the procedures.
Uh-huh.
Court. And so I kept him on as advisory counsel. Well, the day of the dismissal, this guy had a monkey grip on my thigh under the table when the judge said, you can go get your kids right now. It's
Why was
because
he doing that? Why was he doing that?
It was because he used to work for the other side. And he knows that that never, ever, ever happens.
So he
Even
was
if you,
amazed. He was blown away.
he couldn't believe it.
Couldn't believe
You-
it.
And the attorney ended up having to pay for the case. She was bawling that day. She was crying from the courtroom, all snot and all in the parking lot. Amazing.
So
Yeah.
when I got 2 grandchildren, and when they were younger, my daughter and husband got divorced, and my daughter said they ain't got no money to hire an attorney. I was driving truck at the time, so I give her the money to hire an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
So it come time to get ready for the court, and the attorney called her up, and so she asked me to go with her. I went with her down to the attorney's office. The attorney said, well, things have come up, and I'm gonna need another $2,000. I said, look, can you make my daughter hold her in due course of this case? He looked at me like I was crazy. No, I can't. I said, okay, you're fired.
Mm.
So we went to court, and it's one of them, family court things.
Mm-hmm.
And we in there, and the judge asked the attorney, he said, I can't speak. He said, because they fired me. I looked at the judge. I said, Judge, because I had my daughter and my grandkids on my UCC private property list. I said, Judge, you got enough money in your escrow account to cover the trespass fees you're going to incur for trespassing on my private property? What that means is the judge's bond big enough to cover the trespass fees?
Mm-hmm.
There's two children involved. That's $4 million per individual per day. The judge slammed that hammer down and said, get your children and get out of my court and don't ever come back.
Wow. This is the power of UCC, Secure Party Creditor.
Right.
Wow. I almost don't even know what else to ask. I mean, this is because it's so not known and it's so misused. I've seen people trying to use it. I've seen people trying to teach it. I've seen people teaching against it, saying, no, you'll go to jail. And, I know if you mess with them and you don't know what you're doing, it'll put a target on your back and they'll take you down,
That's exactly right. But if you're a secured party creditor, one of the first things you want to do is file a $21 silver bond and have it notarized and put it in the courthouse into the public record. If you ever get arrested, why they say you can call the bail bondsman? No, you just call the county. I got a bond up there, and they got to let you go.
That is okay. Please expound on that. Say what, Lady B?
a fact right there. Mine has been on the record, and when I put it in the record, it literally flipped 2 court cases, exonerated the bail bondsman by putting my bond in its stead. And
Wow.
the last time that I actually went to jail,
Mm-hmm.
the judge acted like she didn't see it. She gave me a $200 bond to get out, but she acted like she didn't see that bond. And I said to her, "You don't see," I had to ask her 3 times. Why? I said, "Why do I have a bail?" I said, "You don't see my bond?" She said, "I don't know what you're talking about." I said, "So you mean to tell me you don't see my bond?" She said, "You mean the one in Pima County?" I said, "Oh, so you do see my bond?" She said, "That one doesn't count. It's not in Maricopa." And she ran down the hallway because they can't take me to court. I
Mm.
charged for my likeness and my audio by the minute. And
And
when they
now
found,
that is a
yep,
21 silver
mhm,
dollar bond. And silver, no judge can adjudicate silver. No
mhm.
judge, because it's legal lawful money of the United States of America.
So it's a
Yep.
21, what?
I've had a bail.
21 actual silver dollars, Morgan silver dollars, minted before 1965, which is real silver.
Okay. Now, Lady B, what was you trying to say a second ago?
I took that bond
Mm-hmm.
to my bail after when they exonerated all my bonds. I went down there to the bail bondsman, and they looked at me and they were like, "We don't know what like I had 5 cases. I smashed 3 of them immediately, and then the
Wow.
other 2 I had to take some time to get them done right." And what happened, because they were working with each other to mess me up, I wouldn't let them. So
Mm-hmm.
when I finally got the bonds exonerated, I took it down to the bail bondsman. He said, "Lady, I don't know what you've been doing with your cases. Your cases are weird." Because there was a point in time when they actually had to call the clerk, and the clerk was like, "Yeah, she got bond. I mean, she has a warrant, but you can't arrest her on it." And they were like, "What?" She had to like explain that to them. So they knew I was doing something different. And he said, "You said something about keeping your bond on the record, and if you get arrested, us like, servicing it." And I said, "Yeah." I said, You'll consider it?" And he said, "We were talking about it." He said, "But I want to see the bond first."
Mm-hmm.
And so I gave him a copy of it, and he started reading it. And he said, "Wait," he said, "who is this bonded through?" I said, "The United States Treasury." So he looked at me and he started reading again. He got a little bit further. He said, "Wait a minute." He said, "This is bonded in silver?" I
Hmm.
said, "Yeah." "But maybe you could take some business cards for your friends." He said, "Because if you put this in the record, you won't need us anymore."
Mm.
The
Wow.
thing about a $21 silver bond is it's real, authentic silver. There's only 2 kinds of money, gold and silver. They took them both off the market. So when you do a $21 bond, you make an attachment, say you see attachment A, you take 2 sheets of paper, you
Mm-hmm.
lay 21 silver Morgan dollars on the paper, take a picture of it, attach it to the bond.
Mm.
Now, they cannot say you don't have silver.
Mm.
And when you file that in the county, it becomes a public record.
Mm. Wow. Once again, I had never heard of that. This, I could see why they fight people so much on this type of stuff, because there's so much deception on there. And what's so crazy is when you begin to start to do these things and you go into the public arena with it, they're baffled. They're baffled by it. They're like amazed, like in court being amazed. Like Lady B was saying, the lawyer was like, like he couldn't believe it was going on. It's like they
Right.
don't know
It's
about this stuff
like
either at the lower levels.
like a man used to say on the radio I was on, used to Bell, you cannot mix public and private. And you can't. You cannot put private into the public. You got to
Mhm.
stay, if you're going to be private, which is secured party creditor, you must stay on the private side of things. That doesn't mean that you can't leave your house and go out and do shopping and stuff. That's all in commerce. That's in the public. but you got to understand how to take care of yourself on the private and not mix it with commerce.
Okay, so
Because
this brings me to another point. The point where people say that all the time. I know other organizations that won't have anything to do with the straw man, anything to do with anything like that. So when you are a secured party creditor, you're private, here's the public, you don't mix them, but you want to be able to have an entity that you could utilize in the public, correct?
correct, that's your debtor. That's
And
your
so,
birth certificate and your social security.
right. And so how do you go about doing that in a way that you don't bring yourself back into the back into the public, but you're operating through your straw man, correct? You own your straw man. You own your US citizen that they're calling you, right?
Right. But that U.S. citizen can't do nothing because he's a dead entity. That's
Right.
why the secured party comes into play. And the debtor, like you walking in the house and you got a living room light. But in order to get that light, you have to flip a switch on the wall. Till you flip that switch, there is no transmitting of the power from that switch to the light bulb.
Right.
Once you flip that switch, the debtor is a dead entity. He flipped the switch and now he gave energy to the light bulb, which came on, and now the secured party can operate. He can take care of stuff because he's got the energy. The debtor has to transmit all of its energy over to the secured party because it's dead. It can't do nothing on its own. My shadow can't go in the bank and pay a bill for me, but it's there with me everywhere I go.
Yeah.
I can't get rid of it. I can take a sword and carry it with me, and every time I go somewhere, I'm gonna cut the shadow. You stay in the car. I'm going in and take care of it. It don't work like that.
Right.
Your debtor is with you always. The strong, whatever they want to call it, straw man, what debtor, is with you forever. You try to kill him, and I guarantee you, the FBI is gonna come lock you up.
So the object is not to try to dismantle the straw man, just to
No,
change
you can't
ownership.
dismantle him. Here's the thing. Your birth certificate is printed on security paper, and right in the border, it says American Bank Note. Anywhere on a FRN does it say that it's money or it's a bank note. It says Federal Reserve Note. Doesn't say nothing about a bank, doesn't say anything about his money. The birth certificate is money. And the Social Security card is the trust that they created in your name. The number on the back of the card is your account at the Federal Reserve Bank that you're assigned to. And the debtor can't do anything with it. Neither can they do anything with the birth certificate. They have to transmit it over to you, the human flesh and blood person, to operate both of those things, which are financial assets created for you at birth. It's a trust and it's also money. How are you going to operate that? Your security intermediaries, which are government agents, are using your trust and your birth certificate to pay all their bills, and they should be paying yours. But they're paying their bills with your credit. And you have to learn how to use it, and you have to learn how to use your credit for your benefit. That's where a secured party comes into play. But you have to understand all the contracts in order for it to work.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's good that Lady B has a school and has you on faculty as a teacher to teach these courses, because it does seem like a lot to traverse through. It seems like, it makes people scared to jump out there, because I've known people that have fallen flat on their face trying to do this stuff and jamming themselves up and making it seem scary and crazy for everybody else. But then you have people like you and Lady B who are executing these things, walking through it, learning as you're going, adding to the knowledge, you know, and guys, that's what the school is about. You could come, you can learn all these things, and you have people that have walked through it that can walk you through it. So that's why you would definitely want to check out a City on the Hill institution, because you will definitely want to be able to get to Dave. Now, Lady B, do you have anything else you want to add?
You know, I'll say this.
Okay.
There's no easy way to be free, and it's not free. Being free doesn't mean free, right? It means freedom, right? Not being bound to these agencies, rules, and regulations. If I want to put a shed or a fence up on my land, why are you there to try to regulate
Mm-hmm.
that? Because every time they get you to sign, they can get in the trust. And we got to stop letting them do that. We got to say enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
This is not an easy thing to do, but
Right.
the benefits outweigh that by miles. It's life changing,
Yeah.
and it's going to take time. It's going to be hard. Other things are going to jump up in your face and try to knock you off of what you're doing. But if you continue to move forward in gaining the proper understanding in a focused way, you know, dealing with the things that are in your life, how do you remedy what's going on with your life right now, right? Want help getting those things accomplished. If you're having housing issues, we can show you different options other than mortgage. If you have credit issues, those are things that are smaller things that you can take in bit by bit, but all of those things are weapons that you can use when you need to pull it out, pull it out.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah,
I want to, okay.
I'll say this. When
Yeah.
I first started this over 20 some years ago, I
Whoa.
was lost. I was lost. I was lost. I
Mhm.
tried everything in the world. I read every transcript before the computer come along. It was all done in transcripts. I read them and read them and read them. I can't tell you how many times I read them transcripts. But I was laying in bed one night in my bunk in my truck,
Mhm.
and I was kind of tired of reading, so I was going to take a nap, and it just seemed like a tree limb fell out the sky and hit me in the head. I said, "Oh my God, I know what they talking about." But I had to read and read and read and read over and over and over until I finally figured out what it was that these people were talking about. It was talking about the UCC, but I didn't have no clue what it was.
Mhm.
But I found so many UCCs, and they were all wrong. It took me
Mhm.
several years before I finally got to the point where I am now, and just in the last 6 or 7 years. But before that, I was just a lost person. That's all there is to it. It's something that you just doesn't. It doesn't just come to you overnight. You have to
Right.
study and you have to read. You got to be willing to re-educate yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would y'all say to, because when you're hearing stuff like this, somebody could watch this and be like, well, I don't want to be messed with by the government. I don't want my house taken. I don't want my kids taken. I don't want to be snatched out of cars. I don't want to be drugged down to the jail. What would you say to people about UCC right now that have that mindset, or could have that mindset from watching something like this?
I would
I
tell
was
them, hurry up and become a secured party creditor and start studying and learning and stuff. I don't know how much time I got left on here. My phone just said it's about to go dead, but I'll
Yeah,
try to
we're
make
about to end. That's why I'm asking y'all your parting words.
okay. Yeah, but I would say, man, get into it, study it, and quit looking at all the YouTubes on YouTube channel because there's so much confusion out there. And I know I'm not the only person in the world that knows this stuff. There's a lot of
Right.
people, but there's a whole lot of them out there that are teaching you just a certain part of it, and they're never giving you the whole enchilada, and they're
Hmm.
taking you for a ride and taking your money and leaving you out in the cold.
Okay. Excellent parting words, because you lived it, you learned it, you was lost in the sauce up until you wasn't no more. And now you know what you know, and can't nobody take that knowledge from you. You actualized it, you utilize it to help, you know, your daughters, your family, your grandchildren. It's real in your life, and you have proof. We could see it. Okay. And so now, Lady B, what are your parting words?
I would say this: you're going to have to put some skin into the game.
Mm.
And if you try to tiptoe around it, God has this funny way of throwing a whole bunch of stuff at you and making you figure that out.
Mm.
So you're going to go through stuff.
Yeah.
You'll go through a lot less stuff than I went through. If you come through here, you'll go through a lot. I can help you learn how to defend yourself, get things squared away before issues occur, right? But not everybody is. There's a lot of people that have issues that's going on right now. They need remedy. It's shutting down their life just like it did when they took my kids. That shut me down. And there are things in life that shut you down. And you don't have a lot of like-minded people that you can just go to and talk to about. They're going to think you're a little crazy, right?
Yeah.
So bringing it full circle, there's a place that God created for people to learn these things, have a little help on the way, some backup, some support. And that's what we do.
Yeah. So
we give telephone consultations. So I'm gonna tell you straight up, I've been around the block a time or two, and I think that the knowledge I have is worth the money that it costs for a consultation. You can get a consultation through the school, through Lady, through Tracy, or myself. At any time, all you have to do is drop a line and say you want a consultation.
Yep, because Dave has certainly taken his lumps to get the knowledge that he has now. And so, his phone must have went ahead and died, so he dropped out. But Lady B, right quick, just give an understanding of the school so people can understand that that is something that that is an avenue for them to be able to come to understand these different things that they can understand. Okay, Dave is trying to come back in now.
Okay. So we here at the school, we take a different approach to people. We try to help you get
You're breaking up a little bit, Lady B. Do you have the phone in your hand or something? Because it seems like it's being moved around or something.
Yeah, I did have it in my hand. Is this better?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, here at the school, what we try to do is, or what we do is we help you get a plan together that fits your circumstance, right? We have structured courses that you can take, Passport, Accepted for Value, which is discharge course, and Secure Party, but there's a lot of other resources and sites in here. There's different processes that you can learn, but you can consult with us. You can talk with the faculty. You can get consultations with them about mortgage situations, credit card situations. We've had a lot of people that are coming in saying, hey, you know, I have elderly parents that I need to take care of. How can I find something that's right for me to establish for them? So there's a lot of different ways people are trying to approach their lives. And what we do is we kind of help you to carve out a path and get and support you with resources and course documentation that'll help you take on these different challenges.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I don't know if you're cutting out or if you were if you was done speaking at the end of that sentence, because I kind of hear.
Yeah, short and
okay.
I said that was short.
You're breaking up.
I said that was short and sweet.
Indeed, it was very concise. Okay, so we're getting ready to wrap up. So I will tell you this, audience. Lady B does have a school, okay? Now, the school is called a City on the Hill institution. Okay, now we are going to have a Q&A, and that Q&A, we hold those Q&As on Tuesdays at 7 p.m., 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is my time. And then it's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But this is for people outside of the school. You don't have to be in the school to be part of this Q&A. So I am going to put the Zoom link that invites you to that Q&A underneath this video. So when you see it, make sure to look below, copy that link, because on Tuesday, you can use that to join the Q&A, and Lady B will be there. She'll be able to answer all your questions. Hopefully we'll have Dave on for that Q&A. You heard that, Dave. And so hopefully he'll be available at that time. And so if you got any questions about the things that you heard, if it's fostered questions that you never even thought about before because of the things that you heard, be on the Q&A Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Okay, guys, thank you so much, Lady B, for being on. Thank you so much, Dave, for carving out time to be on. We're definitely going to have some more series. This is going to be a recurring, there'll be recurring guests because this is a series, God over government. We got to understand how to stand for ourselves and come out of this Babylonian enslavement bondage system that they birthed us into. Okay, but that's basically it, guys. I'll see you next time. I don't know if it's going to be God over government or another episode of one of my other series that we got going simultaneously. But I will see you next time on Beyond the Bible. So bye.